Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today, you may notice that we are sitting in the Rogue Harbour, and that's because we're going to be talking about heists. But we're not talking about the Heist League, the one that ended early January of 2021. We're talking about running heists after the Heist League is over. And so just firstly, a little bit on why you might want to do this. There's a number of really good items that at the time of recording this video are only available through heists. And I thought I'd give it a quick showcase of some of those. So there are 5 main categories of special rewards. All of these will drop from what's called a Grand Heist, and we'll get to what Grand Heists and heists are later. But firstly, just to give a bit of a sense as to what's available, there are what's termed Replica Uniques. These are unique items that are thematically loosely based upon an existing Path of Exile unique item. So Replica Alpha's Howl isn't a copy of the original Alpha's Howl, but it has a lot thematically in common with it. Where Alpha's Howl powers up the level of socketed aura gems, Replica Alpha's Howl powers up the level of socketed herald gems. So it's a slightly different effect, but fundamentally it's broadly doing the same thing without being exactly the same. Actually, side note, I think that this is a somewhat underutilized item. It's better than people give it credit for. Replica Volker's Guidance is another example, where the original Volker's Guidance grants your fire damage the ability to poison. Replica Volker's Guidance grants chaos damage the ability to ignite. So it's a very different effect mechanically, but they're closely thematically linked. So that's the Replica Uniques. There's lots of them. They vary in rarity a lot, from more common ones like these two, through to more valuable and rare ones like the Replica Shroud of the Lightless, which I sold one off for 24 exalts, that dropped for me on stream the other day. And then at the top end, the very rarest of them all, is a complete meme item by the name of Replica Baited Breath, which has phishing memes on it, and can sell for multiple mirrors late in the league. Okay, so that's the first category of reward, the Replica Uniques. Next up is the Enchanted Armaments. These are chest pieces and weapons that have special mods on them. So you see that this has an enchantment, has 1 white socket, and resistance modifiers have 8% increased effect. So what that means is that your resistance rolls on this item, no matter how you get them, whether it be from harvest, whether it be from using a chaos orb, whether it be the resistance mods that are on it when it rolls, or whether it be something that's put there with an essence, however you do it, those will have 8% increased effect. If you have 45% cold resistance, then that will be scaled up by 8%, which will make it 48% cold resistance. This can take modifiers beyond their normal maximums. So for instance, if you had this enchant and you had 48% fire resistance, then that would be scaled up to 51%. So it's quite powerful potentially, and there's a lot of better enchants than this one. The modifiers can be increased by as much as 15%, although the ones that give a 15% bonus also have a drawback. The ones that grant a 10% I don't think have a drawback or an advantage. The ones that grant 8% have a small advantage, like +1 white sockets. And then there's a number of enchants that grant 6% to each of 2 different stats. So, these are quite strong. And the reason that these are strong isn't so much their inherent stats. So a Sentinel Jacket with these mods isn't, with that enchant on it, isn't necessarily as amazing as an influence base could be. But the thing that makes them quite a bit better than they seem is that they roll very well. So when you take these, they're often heavily linked. So they're often 5 linked, sometimes 6 linked. And additionally, they have better than average mods on them. Path of Exile introduced an experiment with intelligently rolling items, favouring mods that players will want to use and favouring combinations of mods players will want to use, and that ends up making these sometimes very good. Now, Loath Guardian isn't a good item, but I have seen some very, very, very good items drop on experimented, not on experimented bases, on the Enchanted Armaments. Next up is the experimented bases. These are crafting bases that you can't get via any other means. So this is a heat-attuned tower shield. It's an armor-based shield that has scorch enemies when you block their damage. That's an effect you can't otherwise get. has a little bit less armor and than other tower shields do, and also doesn't have any life like the Pinnacle Tower Shield, but sometimes this is exactly what you want on a character. Again, these roll with better than average mods on them. That doesn't mean they're always excellent, and in fact this one, the mods on it aren't very good, but they're better than an average identified piece of gear. And you can get some very good ones. I've certainly seen shields available in the available as rewards from these heists that can have more than 350, even more than 400 energy shield, whilst also having desirable other mods on them. So you can get some very, very solid rare items out of heists. And there's two categories of them. Next up is a reward type that is trinkets or currency. So this will give you a choice of 5 piles of currency, some of which will be replaced by Thieves' Trinkets. Thieves' Trinkets go in a unique slot on your character that you can't access until the first time you do one of these Grand Heists, and they will amp up your loot during heists. This is the one I happen to be using in this league. It's not particularly great, but it does have 4 effects that amp up your heist loot, and so it's certainly worthwhile using it for me. In fact, I'll just go and equip that now. The best Thieves' Trinkets are the ones that replace other crafting orbs with Exalted Orbs. So the top 4 rolls you can get on a Thieves' Trinket in order are 4% chance for Regal Orbs to drop as Exalts instead, 3% chance for Regal Orbs to drop as Exalts instead, 1% chance for Chaos Orbs to drop as Exalts instead, and then 4th is 2% chance for Regal Orbs to drop as Exalts instead. Notice a little bit of a pattern there. Additionally, there are special gems that can drop in the heist content, such as this Divergent Decoy Totem. This didn't drop as a level 21 20 quality gem. That's come from me, from leveling it up, qualitying it up, and the like. It probably would have dropped with like 15% quality on it, but instead of having the normal quality effect of Decoy Totem, it's got totems regenerate 20% of life per second. There's actually a bug with this gem, and it's not the full 20%, but it does get a benefit. However, most of the Divergent and other alternate quality gems do not have that. They do not have a bug with them. They actually do work. Lastly, there are some unique items that are linked specifically to heist, such as this unique item, Expedition's End, which I am planning to feed to Elva's Corruption Chamber the next chance that I get, because it's a cool item. So, there are 2 unique currencies that are both created and consumed by running heist content. If you're familiar with Delve, you should think of these as being sort of vaguely like Sulfite and Azurite, respectively. So, the sort of Sulfite equivalent, if you like, is a Rogue's Markers. However, it's not an exact comparison to Sulfite. This can be traded directly to other players, so it's not soulbound on pickup like your Sulfite is, and these are something that you will find a lot while you're adventuring. You'll start picking these up from Act 6 onwards, and by the time you get to maps, you'll probably have a reasonable number of them. When you open a heist, you consume quite a lot of them. When you successfully complete a heist, you'll receive an item like this Mirror of Teklet's Pizzi, which will vendor only to one vendor in the game. Fitzpatrick's the fence here. When you vendor it to him, he will give you a considerable amount of Rogue's Markers back. And that's the only use for those items. So you'll find that you'll get a lot of these coming in if you are running heists. You will spend these on opening heists, especially if you're unsuccessful at completing them, but you'll spend a lot of them when you are dealing with Grand Heists. We'll get to what Grand Heists are in a sec. Just know that Grand Heists will consume a very large number of Rogue Markers to run. Additionally, there is a second currency that is somewhat hidden. And for this one, we'll go and talk to Wakano the Barber. Let's actually not control click him. He'll bring up a menu, and one of the options is Reveal Blueprint Details. I'm going to stick in this Grand Heist, and you'll see here that there is a currency type called Reveals. You'll get +1 of these each time that you complete a normal heist, and at the moment, I'm completely out of them. You can also, some of them can come from Wakano. If you run a heist with Gianna or Niles, they will give you, instead of giving you a Wakano one, they will give you a better one. These are spent in order to improve a Grand Heist loot. So for instance, there is a currency room here. I can spend 1 reveal, which I can't afford, and 1565 rogue markers, which I can afford, And if I do that, this room will be opened. So this lock will be, this locked door will be removed, well, will be changed to something that my characters can bypass. And then I will be able to get in here and loot these currency rewards. So that's something that is a powerful, that is a useful thing to keep in mind. Barest minimum, you're going to want to use 2 or 3 of these on every Grand Heist that you get, these unveils. But there are some strategies, and we'll deal with the strategies for dealing with, the 5 different strategies I recommend for interacting with Heist League at the end. And one of them in particular will use a very large number of this reveal currency. So we'll come back to that later. Let's go through the different types of items that you'll find that allow you access to heists. So think of these as equivalents of maps in a way. So we have traditional contracts. Contracts are a dime a dozen. These are the standard form of heist content. They have a number of mods on them, and they can be rolled in the same way as maps. They have a similar mod pool to maps, but I want to give a couple of warnings. There are some mods that can roll on a contract that are absolutely brutal. The first one, and it's one that I think a lot of players will underestimate, is Nemesis. So this is the mod that grants 20 to 30% increase in the number of rare monsters on the map, and also causes them all to have a Nemesis mod. Heist has a very high monster density. And what this means is there's a number of choke points where you can get stuck fighting 12 rare monsters at once. When you've got 12 rare monsters at once and they all have Nemesis mods on them, sometimes something goes very badly wrong. And that something is called Lightning Mirage. It is very, very, very easy to get killed by a monster with Lightning Mirage. And so you need to be very diligent about dealing with Lightning Mirage if you are running heists that have Nemesis on them. The other ones that you should be very wary of are alert level raises every 10 seconds. This has sometimes been bugged, and I think it's bugged right now. And by bugged, I mean just simply doesn't do anything at all. But when it works, it's really fiendish. We'll get to what the alert level is in a sec when we actually do a demonstration heist. The other ones that you want to watch out for are the ones that say players' resistance, maximum resistances are reduced by X per 25 alert level. And also flasks, player flask recovery rate and life recovery and mana recovery and energy shield recovery are reduced proportional to the alert level. These are just mods that on their own aren't that scary, it's just that the numbers on them are really high. So one of them, for instance, causes you to gain 64% less flask charges. This is a scary mod. So with that out of the way, I think the easiest way to explain heists is actually to run one. And so I'm just going to drop a bunch of stuff away for a second. Where's an inventory slot that we can throw things into? That can go away, that can go away, that can go away. And what we'll do is we will run a standard heist, and we're going to run a scoured one. Because, in fact, I'm going to grab a low-level one, and the reason for that is that when I am recording, currently anything in Heist tends to perform pretty badly if I'm putting the CPU under additional strain by recording. So I'm going to expect poor performance, and I'm going to run this one. So you take them to Adia, these contracts, and you'll be asked to bring along an assistant. Your assistant will have skills that your character doesn't have. In this case, it's the ability to blow things up. And 3 of the NPCs that you gain access to have the ability to blow things up. I'm going to take Huck, not because he's necessarily the strongest choice, but because he'll make it the combat easiest, because he'll fight alongside me. Vindiri is the min-max choice here, but I'm just going to take Huck to demonstrate it better. Now, Adia is going to open up Portal. Whilst you only see one portal there, you can come through this as many times as you want until you hit a critical point in the heist. Now, the heist is broken up into 2 phases, before and after the alarm. The alarm, you'll see a bar that will indicate how much progress you've made on setting it off, and this will build up as you open chests. It will additionally build up if you make mistakes with various sentries in some of the heists. Okay, so we come in here, and you see that the minimap is revealed. You'll also see that I'm here. Oh, hang on, no, that's the objective. Where am I? I'm down here. So I'm at the ladder, and the objective is this orange thing here. Additionally, there are some chests present. There is a chest with a question mark, so that can have any rewards, and there is a chest with a delirium icon. Delirium icon will mean delirium orbs if I'm lucky, simulacrum splinters if I'm middling lucky, and bad unsellable cluster jewels if I'm not. However, those cluster jewels can be good, especially in solo self-found. Firstly, before we go any further, let me just pause the game and get a little bit through this because, oh my god, this is lagging really, really badly. Okay, I think that the game client has composed itself at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a beeline to the end, and along the way there's going to be a number of doors that I will need Huck to assist me with. These doors take ages to open at the start of your heisting career, but they will get a lot faster when you equip various pieces of heist equipment. So you'll see this bomb icon here. There's two ways that you can activate this. You can either press the V button to interact with League Mechanic, or you can click this. So I'm just pressing V, and you'll see that Huck is going to place down a keg of dynamite and then explode it. Then at this point there is an ambush of monsters behind it, and then there's this chest. You'll notice that the alert level goes up quite a bit when these chests are open, these big ones. Likewise, if you open the small chests, you'll also raise the alert level. When that caps out, then you'll start getting a lot of monsters coming after you, and additionally you'll have only a limited amount of time to get to the end objective. So let's pick up a couple of the small chests to showcase again how the alert level increases with them. Nothing that triggered the loot filter there. I'll grab this one as well. And I'm strategically thinking that I need to save some of my alert for the delirium reward. So I'm going to open one more of these. And now I'm not certain. I'm not absolutely confident that I have enough alert level left. So I'm just going to go straight to that delirium chest. Now, one thing that's very important, all item that you loot in heists is tagged as what's called contraband. Contraband items, if your character doesn't leave the heist through the front door, it will drop on the ground. So this includes a character death, this includes a disconnect. That's not the end of the world when the alert level is not yet full. You can still come back and get it later. However, once the alert level is full, you will not be able to re-enter the heist, and that means you have essentially lost all of those items. So I got quite unlucky with that delirium reward, and unfortunately the performance is really bad. Actually, performance has been absolutely terrible since 3.13 for me. But leave that aside, we'll get to the end and we'll demonstrate the escape phase. The escape phase is the fun part of heists. This part so far is a bit of a drag. So now the door will open and we'll be able to get in here. And at this point, just have a look. You'll see that when I hover over the bust of Emperor Caspero here, the alert level fills up. That means that when I smash this open, the alert level of the complex will actually hit 100%. When it hits 100%, the complex goes into lockdown, and we will see rapidly escalating numbers of monsters attacking me. So here we go, I've just double-clicked it, picked up that bust of Caspero, and now there is a rapidly escalating number of monsters being spawned to hunt me down. Now, again, you've got the minimap. That will help you on your way out. This monster here, there's a lot of unique monsters that you'll encounter in here that are just extremely tanky. If you've got an extremely powerful character, not playing a sort of main build like I am, then you can butcher those really quickly. But they are much tougher than other monsters of comparable monster level. Additionally, it's a bit hard to see here because of the ignite proliferations and chaos explosions there. But when I turned this corner, there was an ambush set up waiting for me. And you'll see that at some of the future doors on the way up. That here, on the other side of this door, there is a big ambush ready for me. You need to have some sort of plan for dealing with these ambushes because they are mean. And certain items, because there's so many trash mobs here, the unique flask Cinder Swallow Urn is absolutely incredible in heist content. Basically replenishing your life and your mana and your energy shield simultaneously, pretty much every time you kill a monster. So Here we go, we're nearly on our way out. Once we get to the end, then the items will actually be mine. So just when we get to near the end, I'll just showcase the items that I've picked up still have this contraband status on them. It means that they're still not mine, but as soon as I go through that escape route, now they have lost the contraband status and they are mine at this point. So, in doing this, we earned the following. We earned the bust of Emperor Caspero, which is useful only to vendor to Fitzpat the Fence, and we earned one of the blueprint unveil currency. Additionally, we got a small amount of loot. This was actually kind of rubbish, this one. It's far below the norm. Normally, you would expect to get an average of maybe 8 to 10 chaos from in total value from a heist like that, with a fair bit of variance. Like, you'll find most commonly you'll get 4 to 5, but then often enough you'll get 20, you get 30, and sometimes you get an exalt or more. And overall, I think you probably average about 10, maybe 10 chaos. Now we're going to load back into the Rogue Harbour, and once more, it is very slow to load this zone. The GGG really did shit the bed with the 3.13 patch from a technical perspective. And then we're going to go and sell the bust of Emperor Caspero, and you'll see I got 1280 rogue markers for it. And now let's demonstrate revealing a blueprint detail. We have here this armored blueprint. We have one unveil from Wakano, and I'm just going to use it on, without sort of going into why, I'll just go with one that I think is probably the best choice, which is one of the delirium rewards here in this wing of the blueprint. So that's the core gameplay loop of a normal heist. However, you will notice that when I started, I had a whole bunch of rogues to choose from. In fact, I have 9 of them. When you start heisting, you're not going to have access to all 9 rogues. You will only have access to Cast, who is actually one of the best too, but he's the only one you'll have. What you're going to need to do is to meet all of the rest of them. The way that you do this is by running the normal heists, and doing them with the most recently acquired rogue. So when you've only got Cast, he will bring along a friend. I think he brings Tibbs from memory. I could be wrong on that. When you run one with, the first one that you run with Tibbs, Tibbs will say, hey, I want to bring along a friend, and maybe he brings along Gianna. You'll then run one with Gianna at some point, and she'll say, hey, do you mind if I bring along my old buddy Vindiri? Vindiri might then say, hey, do you mind if I bring along Huck? And so on and so forth. Where players tend to get stuck in this chain is when they get to a new rogue that they don't consider to have very good mods on them, and therefore don't use. And so they're thinking, oh, I'm running heist after heist after heist, but I just can't seem to get Talina. How do I get Talina? The answer is just go through all of the rogues that you've got alphabetically and run one heist with them each. Additionally, it's worth pointing out at this point that there are different types of heists. There are the contracts we've mentioned, there are the blueprints that we've mentioned a little bit that have the special heist-specific loot. There are unique contracts, such as Breaking the Unbreakable and the Twins, which can only drop if you've done certain prerequisite quests, and there are those prerequisite quests themselves. Those are heists that will drop as quest items. They will drop from smugglers' stashes in maps, which are in 1 in 10 maps, and when you get one of these, if you're interested in ever running the unique heists, then you should run it. If you're not interested in ever running the unique heists, then you can leave all of the quest heists on the ground, and if you've already picked them up, you can just walk into a map and drop them on the ground. They're not very lucrative to run. The only thing that they do is they add these into your drop pool. So into your league drop pool. So for instance, I can get the Twins to drop because I've run the chain that leads up to it. From memory, that starts with a heist called O Fortuna, progresses with the negotiation, with the rescue, and then with one other, I think, and then you're able to get the Twins dropping in maps. Still a pretty uncommon drop, but it's kind of nice when you get it. You know, it's currently about an Exalted Orb in trade value. So, what are my suggestions for strategies for running heists? Firstly, I need to introduce the concept of rogue gear. So rogue gear is something that everyone paid an enormous amount of attention to in the Heist League and then sort of forgot about. Rogue gear are little items that drop on the ground when you're running heists, and you need to change your loot filter so that all of these show in low tier zones. Fair warning, the most popular loot filter by Neversink does not show these in low tier heists, and you absolutely should, in Heist with a monster level of 75 or lower, you should be showing all of these pieces of rogue gear. So what I tend to do with them, there is a min-max strategy and there is a non-min-max strategy. The non-min-max strategy is just to pick up rogue gear when you get it, then scour it, then elk it, and if it looks good, throw it on one of your rogues. The mods to look for are job speed and anything that increases the drops that come. So for instance, you'll see here this Entropy Heart Silver Brooch, which isn't outstanding or anything, but it's good enough. It has Heist chests have a 9% chance to duplicate contained basic currency. So this means if a Chaos Orb will drop for me, there is a 9% chance that I will get 2 Chaos Orbs instead. And it also has 17% increased job speed, which is pretty self-explanatory and very, very, very powerful. Increased job speed on gear makes Heist feel so much smoother and so much more fun. And it's something you're going to want to get on as much of your gear as is realistically possible, especially on the rogues that you tend to use the most. The other point that needs to be said about the rogues, as well as meeting them all, is filling up their XP. When you meet the rogues, they will be level 1 in each skill, and they will be unable to run a number of heists. So this Phoenix Scripture Smuggler's Den requires Trap Disarmament level 3. So Vindiri, as I have him, has Trap Disarmament at level 5, so he could run it. But when I first met Vindiri, he wouldn't be able to run this because he would have been level 1. The trick to getting your rogues leveled is to run Grand Heists and to seize the end reward, the Curio Room reward, and to get it safely out. But you want to do this on low-tier Grand Heists. The reason you want low-tier ones is that they will have very, very, very low requirements on all of the different rogue skills. So they're often 1, 1, and 2 if they require 3 different skills. So for instance, you might find that you can, if you've got Vindiri has level 1 in Trap Disarmament, and a Grand Heist requires level 1 Trap Disarmament, bringing along Vindiri can then give you, you can really rocket up his XP. A single low tier Grand Heist will probably put him most of the way to level 4, if not actually at level 4. And then from level 4, it doesn't take all that long. In terms of bringing rogues to your Grand Heists, all you need to do is come here. This one I have started, but I haven't finished, so let's just go through the process. This wing I've already done. This wing here, I'm just going to pick. This one requires level 3 Perception, so I have Nanette or I have Cast as options. It turns out that these two are these two plus Vindiri are the 3 strongest rogues. I'm going to take Nanette here because Cast is available as the second one, and then I'm going to take Vindiri as the third choice. Here, I'm able to take Cast, who I prefer to Talina, except I'm required to take Cast here, so I will take Talina as well. You can't, if you take the same rogue twice, you won't get the benefits of both of them, you'll only get the benefits of one. So this way, I'm able to take the very best 2 rogues, and I miss out on the third best one. So the best rogues and why are Vindiri, 14% chance to duplicate loot that's in chests, Cast, 40% reduced alert raising from chest opening, and Nanette is a 20% flat reduction in alert. So let's just quickly go through here and get everything else filled out. So that's, and we will take Cast along there. So that's the combination that we'll be taking on this Grand Heist. However, you don't need to min-max this every time. Feel free to bring along lower tier rogues that you just need XP on as well. Okay, so let's talk strategies. So there are several different strategies that you can use, and I want to go through these just with a quick heads up that which of these is most effective will depend upon the league economy at the time. If you're playing in solo self-found, then you'll instead want to consider your own preferences as to the sort of loot that you're going for. So for instance, if you're looking for lots of raw currency, you'll have a very different strategy to someone that's trying to chase a specific replica unique. So the first option is intentionally failing contracts in order to loot the side chests. This is a very popular strategy in the first week of the Heist League. Here, what you're going to do is grab a high-level contract and apply an alchemy orb to it, kind of like this Phoenix Scripture here. So this is an item level 83 heist, and you'll see that it's got, because of the alchemy orb, it has 52% item quantity, 31% rarity, 20% alert level reduction, and a number of other mods that don't matter. These mean that you will be able to get more of the chests in the heist and get out there without ever setting the alarm off. This is a powerful strategy if you've got rogue markers to burn and you want to pick up standard Path of Exile loot, and it remains strong to this day. You will be a net spender of rogue markers, and if you're in a trade league and you want to sustain this strategy, then you will need to be purchasing rogue markers from other players. Fortunately though, they're pretty cheap at the moment. The second option is just to run contracts fast. The purpose of this is primarily to get unveils. Here, what you're wanting to do is grab level 68 plus contracts and scour them, then go in, skip past all the reward rooms unless they're really good, and I suggest that you grab currency ones, grab level 675 plus delirium ones, and grab level 83 fragment ones. Get the objective and get out. This will make you a small net creator of rogue markers and will grant you lots of unveil credits per hour. In trade leagues, I suggest that you do not use heists that have a heist target value that is precious or priceless. So you'll see here that on this contract bunker, the heist target is the golden metatal idol, high value. If instead of high value it had said priceless value or precious, then I would suggest that you do not use this and instead sell those to other players. The third option is grouped contracts, and this is the fastest way to acquire bulk rogue markers. Here you're going to want to trade for level 81 and higher contracts that have precious or priceless rewards, run them in a group, and scour the contracts. Everyone will get a copy of the end reward. So that means that if you were to run this in a group, everyone in the group would get a golden metatal idol, and they're all going to sell for a large number of rogue markers together. That's for only one contract that's been used. Heist content is actually very, very, very group friendly. The fourth strategy I want to outline is blueprint farming that is optimized for the curio room. And this is what I've been doing. This is where I got my Replica Shroud of the Lightless. This is where I've probably made about 60 or 70 exalts out of heist content this league, most of which I've invested in stupid meme items. So here what you want to do is find blueprints. You can either find these yourself by mapping in Lyra Arthane, where you will get lots of them if you allocate the very powerful nodes Inside Job and its prerequisites. So you will get, this will increase the number of smugglers' caches, and this will double the number of blueprints that drop from smugglers' caches. All in all, this will mean that you will get a lot more blueprints, and when you do get them, they'll have a 10% chance to be fully unveiled. So mapping in Lyra Arthane is very heist friendly. When you're doing these though, your goal is not to reveal every possible treasure room. Your goal is simply to run the heists and get as many wings revealed as you can, and then just get to the end, grab the loot, grab the special gems in this case, the unusual gems, grab the replicas and experimented items out of this one, and bring them out safely. This has been my primary strategy this league, and I would suggest that if you do it, I don't roll my heists to be hard. I actually tend to transmute them and then use alteration orbs to roll over any really bad mods. And the goal here is that because we're not going to reveal every single loot chest that's available, I don't want to spend that many unveils on a contract anyway. I'm not going to have enough alert to open all the chests anyway, so I'm just going to bother with the best ones. So that is the fourth strategy. The fifth strategy is instead to run essentially what you might term a very juiced contract, where you use alchemy orbs and roll as high as plausible an item quantity, item rarity, and alert level reduction, and that will mean that you'll have lots of hard mods on the contract. Once you've done that, you also want to unveil almost all of the wings and almost all of the chests. The chests are of very different power levels, so the currency ones tend to be the very best of them. The unique item ones are mediocre, so this is just going from left to right. Unique item ones are pretty mediocre. Gem ones are a mixed bag, fairly low quality in my opinion. Map ones are fairly low quality. Jewelry ones are better than you might think. They're mostly bad, but you have a slim chance of getting an extraordinarily good synthesized item. Armor ones are better than you think because they drop a lot of good divination cards for armor, everything related to armor, but they're still not great. Harbinger ones are solid. The Essence ones are awful because Essences are so cheap in a trade league. If you're in solo self-found, you might want the Essences though. Fragment ones are exclusively good if the area level is 83, where they can drop some of the more precious fragments. Prophecy ones are better than you might think, and Divination card ones are pretty solid because they drop a lot of stacked decks. So that's some of them. The other ones to note for Talismans are better than you might think, and I think that's pretty much everything except for weapons. Weapon ones are awful. So that gives you a bit of a heads up as to what to look for there. But the fifth strategy is to run lots and lots and lots of normal heists, then get one blueprint, unveil virtually everything on it, and juice it up, and then run it. There was a strategy in the Heist League that involved using beast splitting on blueprints. This is pretty much defunct now. It no longer works the way that it used to, and so it's not something I would particularly recommend. Okay, so to quickly bring some things together and to outline like a couple of final points. Heisting is something that I've personally found a lot of fun. Some people will disagree on that, but it's a bit of a different flow to the normal game. More quest-oriented, less about killing monsters, although you will still be killing monsters. The rewards come from completing a quest rather than from killing lots of monsters. It has a lot of unique loot that you can't get anywhere else in the game. Replica Uniques, alternate quality gems, things like that. Lots of good stuff, as well as very, very, very well-rolled rares. It also is quite a fountain of currency, including pure Exalted Orbs, especially if you're able to get one of the better trinkets than I have. So it's pretty lucrative potentially, and it can be a lot of fun, and it's well worth trying. If you're interested in giving it a go, I'm keen to hear your experiences. Let me know what you think, how much currency you've managed to find, especially if you get lucky and pull a replica bated breath. Definitely say so in the comments below. Phishing memes especially good in conjunction with that. But otherwise, I think I'm going to leave it there. Definitely fire away with your questions, and I hope you have a fun one. And I will see you back in the Ritual League if you're watching this as it comes out, or maybe in whatever league comes afterwards.